timid, being shy is actually good. Right? Don't feel that you are incompetent. Don't feel that you are lesser than other people just because you feel all this. Because Allah has given us all these feelings to make us think, to make us be careful, right? Of what we are going to communicate to other people. Yeah. So before we speak, we should think, we should be sure. And if we're not sure, it tells us that, okay, I have to think about this again. Or if I'm scared, why is it that I'm scared? Is it because whatever I'm going to say is wrong? You know, it makes you actually think about the whole content and how to deliver it. So for a start, being unsure, being scared, being shy, they are pretty good because it will help you to build good presentations. It will help you to avoid the wrong things and focus on the right things that will make you feel better. In fact, if you have too much confidence, it is really, really bad. Okay, I've seen students who are being so confident and have it all wrong just because they are overconfident, right? When you are overconfident, you may not even realize that you are saying the wrong things. You may not even realize that you are being rude. You may not even realize that you are offending the listeners. So don't be too overconfident, okay? And don't think that students, let's say you are in a class and you see one person who can speak very confidently, don't ever think that that person is doing better than you. Not necessarily, okay? Not necessarily. So there must be a balance between being confident and doing things appropriately to the situation you are in, okay? Right. Some simple strategies if you have confidence issues, fear or shyness, okay, especially in academic presentation, because I've come to understand you want to know how to present, especially in academic situation. The first thing that you have to prepare yourself in order to increase your confidence is to consult. From my experience teaching for so many years, it is very rarely students consult with me and ask me what I expect in the presentation. They get the question, they get the task, they get the assignment, they go away and prepare and discuss with friends and come up with a presentation without consulting the lecturer. I think that is a wrong move. The first thing you should do, whether you're speaking to your lecturer or whether you're speaking to your boss, you have to check first, what is it that you want to know exactly? Get that clear first, right? Go and talk to them. It's not a crime to talk and check. You won't look stupid if you ask all these questions before the presentations. In fact, the lecturer or any bosses would be impressed if you keep on asking questions before the presentation itself, because it shows that you care. It shows that you are very focused in your work, and you are trying your best to deliver what your bosses or what your lecturers want. So don't be afraid to consult. Do that as often as possible. And if you are scared, for example, one good tip is always to prepare well. Okay? You need to prepare very well, because nothing beats the feeling of walking into a presentation feeling that, oh, I know what I'm going to say and I have prepared myself very well. And when that works, that will definitely increase your confidence, because you go like, that worked, I'm going to repeat that. Or if that didn't work, you wouldn't feel guilty because you know you have prepared well. And you know that, oh, okay, I've done my part, I've prepared well, but the only weakness is I forgot to do this or that. So you know the areas that you have to improve on. Okay. One thing about preparation is that there are so many things about preparation, okay, that you have to think about, not just what to say, not just what to put into your slides, not just the content, right? I'll get to that in a minute. And if you are shy, okay, one tip that you can do about shyness to overcome shyness is, first, groom well before the presentation. Do everything or anything, for example, grooming well, to make you feel good. Because when you feel good, you would be able to allow yourself to say good things as well, right? So you can start with grooming well. You can start with making yourself feel well, feel calm, for example. It may be taking you to sit quietly somewhere, all right? Or listen to music or drink a good cup of coffee, anything that will calm you down and let you feel good about yourself. And if you need more things, more help to overcome that problem of shyness, then you have to look at yourself as a different person during the presentation. Okay, let's say you are the shy person, and then you just have to say, okay, in this presentation, I'm not going to be myself. I'm going to be someone else. I'm going to take a role. I'm going to act, right? I don't have to show my real self during the presentation. That's not the real me. I'm just acting, okay? So doing a little bit of role playing can also overcome that problem of shyness, because you would feel that, I'm not showing me, I am showing someone else. It's like taking a character, a different character who is not you. Okay, then you can let the other character act during that presentation. Okay, remember that lack of confidence and competence can be a cause to poor presentations, and poor presentations themselves can be a cause to you losing confidence and competence, all right? So you have to ask yourself whether that presentation, if it is poor, is it what's causing it, or is it a cause to something else? For example, is your poor presentation leading you to feel not happy, not confident, not competent, right? So you have to think about the cause and effects of poor presentations, right? It doesn't start with confidence. It may start with the presentation itself, okay? All right, then what do you need to do? First, of course, you have to focus, right? Be clear of the objective of the speech. This is also something that I think is lacking among students. When you present, the objective of the presentation is not getting marks. The objective of the presentation is not an assignment. It shouldn't be seen as the objective of the presentation. You have to ask yourself, or you have to ask your lecturer, what is actually the objective of this presentation? And then the lecturer may say, okay, the objective of this presentation is for me to see whether you understand this concept. Then you know that the objective is to show your understanding of the concept. So Being clear of the objective and the function of the speech is very, very important to start with, because not all presentations should be treated equally or of the same manner. Because all presentations in all our academic or professional lives would have different objectives. So you have to be clear of this objective, okay? And then you have to understand the whole content. Okay, frequently, especially when you are presenting in an academic context, you may just have a small part to present. Don't focus on just that small part. Know how that small part function in a bigger part. If you are presenting in a group, know how your area relates to other areas in the whole presentation. Understand how your topic relate to the whole subject of what you are learning. Understand and put all the connections together. Then only you may be able to see why you are speaking what you need to speak on, right? And when we talk about contextual knowledge, it means that you have to know who is listening. What does this person want to know? Okay, if it is your lecturer, then what is it that he wants to know? If he is your boss, what is it that they want to know? If that person is your friend, what is it that he or she wants to know? You have to know the who, the why. The why would be the objective, and the what. What would be the content, right? The what is it that you have to deliver in order to meet that objective? And you have to think of how to make it interesting, efficient, and also meets the expectations of the audience. Okay, so the how can come a bit later, but what is, I think, what students tend to focus on a lot and only, and that is a mistake. Because when you focus only on the what, all right, only on the subject matter only, without knowing other things that are related to it, then you will not do so well. And of course, you need to practice, right, and present more. Okay, when we look at your objectives, you tend to present academic presentations in terms of presenting literature review, case study, map and zoning, research findings, and you ask me how to do storytelling technique. Okay. Again, when we go back to the objective, usually when you do literature review or case studies, you are expected. The objective is to compare and contrast, because you have to show your critical thinking here. So that is the objective. Then you have to prepare yourself how to compare and contrast. Okay? And if you are talking about mapping and zoning, then you know that you are giving information, right? So highlight or summarize important information. If it is research findings, then you have to remember your RQs. Frequently, students who get data from their research findings are overwhelmed. They are so excited. There are so many things to talk about from the graph or the chart. And they tend to present everything. You don't have to present everything. You have to go back to the objective of the presentation. You have to remember your research questions. Don't forget the research questions. And whatever you present here should be related to your research questions, okay? So when you get, for example, a bar chart, if let's say the research questions ask, when is the most busiest period, okay, where people apply for e-visa approval, then you remember that question, when is the most busiest period? Then you just report on this column, on the column where you see that's the highest. You don't have to report about everything, right? You just have to report For example, in January is the most, and that's it. And if you feel you want to highlight the least, then you can say, well, in June, no, in February, we will have the less or the least, right? And quite close to January would be the 3 months of May, July, and December. So from there, we know our busiest period would be between December and January, end of the year and beginning of the new year. This is where the e-visa application application for approval is like the busiest. So just focus on that because you remember your RQ. Okay.
Excuse me, doctor. Sorry for interrupt. You have 10 minutes more before you end your session.
All right. Inshallah, we'll finish soon. Okay. And then you want to connect to the audience. Okay, when you want to connect with the audience, when we talk about storytelling telling technique, this is one of the strategy to connect. First, you have to ask yourself, are you a person who's good at telling stories? If you're not good, find other ways to connect, right? If you ask me, I personally would feel I'm not good at telling stories, and hence I wouldn't be brave enough to always apply that. So I go for other ways. I may go, for example, showing statistics or showing pictures. There are so many other ways, okay? But if you want to tell a story, make sure that you can tell it truthfully. This is very important. You have to tell real stories. Don't invent, don't make up stories. Have your citation good, like reference, very good reference, very recent, and whatever you feel about that story must be expressed with sincerity, right? Don't pretend, okay? And make sure that the story is relevant to the whole objective and content of the presentation. Okay. Then make sure you check first before you speak. This is very important. Don't focus on the content. Okay? Don't focus on the content before you start with the state of your heart. Your intention is very important. Before we present well, our heart should be with the right intention and should be in a very calm state. Then only it won't bother your mind. Okay, so check the state of your heart. Then you can check how your mind is regulating or checking on the things that you need to prepare. So balance between your heart and your mind first before you go into the speaking, all right? If your heart is not calm, like your heart and your mind are telling you, oh, something is not right, then go and figure that out. What is it that is bothering you? Then go into that presentation itself, okay? And all of that will have a ripple effect on how you arrange your content, how you speak, your intonation, the tone, whether your whether it is fast, whether it is friendly, whether it is warm, whether you sound nervous. Yeah, everything is actually the result of the state of the heart and the mind. Okay, and it will also be shown in your gesture and facial expression. If your heart is not calm, it will show in your face. You wouldn't have a very confident look because you don't feel confident, right? And when you are calm, then you would have good language, good gesture, good facial expression, and of course, the audience would see you as someone who can present, right? Okay, I'll skip that. Okay, this is something that I want to focus on. Don't overdo, all right? Don't overdo. Plan to be natural, friendly, okay? Don't read, right? And you can you should start your presentation preparation early so that you can always review it and understand it before presenting. That will also help you or avoid you from memorizing. Okay, and listen to yourself several times. So practice. Okay. And when you do team presentation, what I would like to remind you is don't monopolize the presentation. Everyone should have their own strength to highlight during the presentation and try to connect yourself from one speaker to another. Show a good synergy, right? Good teamwork through the language, not only through the content, but through the language as well. Okay? And what you have to remember is that your speech and your language is a reflection of how you feel about yourself. Don't worry about proficiency so much. TPHM students may feel, oh, we're not language students, so we're not good. No, that is wrong, right? The most important thing is know what you want to present, know yourself. Then you can build your language proficiency over time. It is important, but don't think that proficient people are good presenters. That is also a wrong concept. There are some people who are not so proficient, but still are very good presenters. Okay? All right. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Lily. I think yeah, I think your presentation just now helped a lot because we know that previously we mentioned that we have the issue with our presentation, which is our confidence, but actually it's not all about confidence. It's all about how we set our points, and when it comes to present a group presentation, we have to like communicate very well with our group. Yeah, thank you so much to Dr. Lily. So now we will move to our next speaker, which is he is one of our TPHM alumni. I'm sure that most of us must know him. His name is Brother Nazmirul Izzat, or we call him as Izzat. Okay, and he currently working at Mayflower Current Sembilan Berhad. Is it correct?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So this session will be the same as previous session, which we have 30 minutes with Brother Izzat. And if you guys have any questions, just straightly ask to him. So without further ado, I would like to welcome Brother Izzat. The floor is yours. Thank you.
Right. Thank you, Sister Hasana. Thank you, Dr. Lily, for the wonderful sharing that you did previously. It was great. Hope you guys take notes on that because it's really important. Assalamualaikum. And for those who haven't known me, my name is Nazmirul Izzat. You can call me Izzat. I'm graduate from TPHM in 2019 and currently working at Mayflower Current. So, and most of my job is actually doing analysis and doing a lot of presentation actually to the management. Right. Can you make it a slide? Oh yeah, I hope you guys all have a wonderful Ramadan and have make a lot of good deeds. Yeah. Right. So the confidence game in presentation, right? What is the role actually confidence in a game of speech or maybe in a game of presentation? I do believe that there's no one in this world is born with confidence, right? is actually being determined on how we've been raised, or maybe the training that we've been through for our life. Like when talking about confidence, I remember that when I was internship in Tourism Malaysia, right, there was a discussion between myself and the director, Dr. Amar. He asked me a question that, hey, do you know what's the difference between Tourism Malaysia and MOTAC? And I simply replied that MOTAC is actually doing the policy and Tourism Malaysia is doing the promotion about leisure. Then he mentioned, are you certain on that? I was like, yeah, that's the most simplest definitions that I can give. All right, next week, I want you to brief us again the differences between Tourism Malaysia and MOTAC. I want all of HOD present at the time to listen to your presentation. And then it was like, what? Why me? I mean, the questions pop up in my head and I was like, I have to do it. So that is one of the most challenging part during my time in Tourism Malaysia. And then when I entered the industry, the same thing happened actually. So I was presenting, I'm also a representative for the environment, health and safety of the company. So I'm presenting the data on the statistic regarding of the company. And then suddenly my GM say, hey, I think you should present in the board management meeting, present the statistic about the company's well-being or the company's environment, health and safety. Again, I say to myself, why me? I don't know why this keeps happening, but then I discovered a pattern which which people realize that there is something in you that you actually can present it to people, right? So it comes down to these three specific criteria, which I realized it was a pattern. And this technique is actually not requires special talent or secret abilities. It's actually you need to train those techniques, right? So don't feel down about it if you're unable to speak, because everyone was not born as confident. It needs to be built over time throughout your life. So can you move to the next section, please? Right, so this is the three criteria that you need to be focused on. The pre-presentation, during the presentation, and after the presentation. So if you notice what Dr. Lily mentioned, she mentioned continuously that you need to present why you're doing this. If you don't have the confidence, actually you don't know why you are going to do this. Maybe you have a lot of thoughts of that, but again, you need to answer why. So next slide, please. So this is the fundamentals, right, of pre-presentation. So I want you guys to imagine that you want to build a house, right? Find a specific area. Maybe you want to build a castle. I don't know, maybe a bungalow, double story, I don't know. Imagine it, right? So in order for you to construct such infrastructure, you need to search a good place, right? So you need the fundamentals, or you need the foundation in order for you to get prepared on this. Next slide, please. So I use the technique 4 wife, 1 husband, right? It's not 4 wife, that wife, right? It's actually comprises of why you do this, where, when, how, right? Can you move this next slide, please? All right. So why, where, when, who, and how. So let us take a look at these 4 incredible people, right? Steve Jobs, CEO of Google, and then Bill Gates and Elon Musk, right? They share one common thing. They know why they are here. They know why they are presenting their products, all right? So Steve Jobs, he visualized that keep challenging his status quo. The company needs to challenge his status quo by contributing to the world with advanced tools or useful tools to the community. Let's take a look at Elon Musk. He mentioned that we want to land people on Mars by 2025. Right? He has a clear goal what he's doing. And Google, he mentioned that to organize world information and make it universally accessible. Clear vision that we know that things that can be achieved. And Bill Gates, he mentioned that he dreams of computer at every desk and at every home. So they know why they're doing this. They know why they're actually presenting this to the audience. They know why they're actually proposing their products to the audience, because they see things and they know why they're doing it. So from our perspective, students, maybe your why is actually, you know what, because I just want to pass this presentation. Or maybe you want to pass this particular assignment, because if not, I will fail because I cannot do it, right? So again, Dr. Lily mentioned that you need to know why you're doing this, why. So maybe you change your mindset. Instead of completing your assignment, you should think that, hey, maybe I want to do this presentation because I want to contribute my ideas. Maybe I want to inspire people by looking at my ideas, right? There's a lot of reason of it, because you know why you're doing this. Not just looking at the objective of that particular academic things, but if you know why you're doing this, because you want to present, you want to share your ideas on this, right? The next one is where. Where do you intend to do this? Is it in the office or virtual, right? So you can actually make a strategy on how to deliver all those ideas. So when is it? So the when question is actually you develop a comprehensive timeline that you can actually have the time to prepare, right? And who's your audience? Is it your colleague, right? Is it your lecturers, or maybe the board of directors, the group CEO, right? So you need to analyze that, the demographic of your audience, right? So you can actually know what you are trying to say and what are the objective of that. Again, why you're doing this, why you should present to the management, why should they care about your presentation? Why should they care about your data, right? So you need to answer that first. Then you can move on to the next one. So how? So how is actually you deliver those ideas, right? Either you physically appear, in front of them, and then you deliver all those ideas, or maybe through online conference. All right. So I don't put what here because what is actually the result of all this? It's actually the whole picture of your house that you imagine, right? So what is actually usually will be the output instead of which you should concern it later, because if you don't know why you're doing this, actually you don't know what you're trying to say to yourself. Next slide, please. So the next step, when you're able to know why you're doing this, you know where is it, you know when, and then you know how to do it. Next step is actually obtaining all those materials, right? Like you're building a house, you need concrete, you need tiles and everything. So for presentation, you need to have a good source, right? This is the current thing that I usually look for. Number one, Google. Google has everything, right? We even work using Google. Hey, Google this, Google that, use that, right? Which is very common thing, even in industry. Sometimes I got stuck, and then I copied that issue into Google, and apparently someone did before me. So there was an issue before that. So use this platform, and then YouTube. All right, same as Google, you have a lot of information there, and then other online sources like Udemy, Coursera, Quora, and then even HRDF. They are actually promoting free online courses, and probably it's going to help you obtaining some information. So it's really cool stuff. I think you should go into it more. And last but not least, if you're not sure that what you are trying to say, just like Dr. Lily mentioned, consult, right? consult with your lecturers, or maybe in the industry, you should consult with your bosses or supervisor, what actually they want, right? So don't be afraid to ask them because you actually don't know about this, right? Why do I say get well informed and be resourceful? Because there's a time during my time in the industry, I got stuck, like literally got stuck. I don't know how to do it, and then I simply reply, I can't do it, to the boss, and then the boss called me out, and then is that you cannot do this, you cannot do this, it's not right, because the directors will look you as, this guy is not really competent and you can kick him off, right? So no, you need to be resourceful. Every problems have solutions. It's just that you need to look into many areas and how to solve it. You need to be very creative on how to solve the problems. So yeah, get well informed, be resourceful. Next slide. All right. After you are able to obtain all those materials and resources, right? You put it next to your dream house, right? Right now, you are going to put it into a framework. You put all where the window is, where the door is, and then which area is the living room. So here are the tools that you can use for conducting a presentation, like for example, Photoshop, Adobe Illustrator, Microsoft PowerPoint, Microsoft Excel. You can use Canva to become more creative, to use your creativity. Google Slides, Google Sheet, and also Power BI. So Power BI is actually a tools that analyze huge chunk of data. So that will be highly technical things, but I'm suggesting that you should explore that if you have a lot of database. Again, it will be highly recommended that you use Google Slides or online platform, like Google Slides or Microsoft 365. Because why? Because it's online. Because if you use PowerPoint local, that you have, some things you need to edit and you have to open up, and then you have to edit again, and then maybe you have to email, then it's take a long journey. Because when you're in industry, you need to get things fast. You need to get things really fast and get the answer right away. So the best way to counter this is actually you use online platform, Google Slides, Microsoft 365 is actually free. You can use them. You just sign it up, and then you have the access of PowerPoint. So use that instead of use the local PowerPoint or local Excel, because it helps me a lot. Because whenever the boss asks me something, I can just open up through my phone, and I can just simply answer from that because it's online. So use that technology. We are in the digital era. Embrace it. Don't push it. Not just social media and stuff. Yeah, it's good stuff, but you also need to discover more things regarding on the online platform, the online cloud technology. Next, please. Right. So here are the area where you practice it. So your house been complete, it's all done. Now you need to do the QC, right? Quality check. So you need to check, inspect the house is actually strong and fundamentals are good, and then you can actually sit there, right? So practice, practice, and practice, right? So you wouldn't be here, at this stage, if you're unable to understand why you're doing this, why you are actually presenting, right? Because when you're in the industry, sometimes you really don't have the time to practice. You don't really have the time because you have like multiple meetings, and you have multiple presentations to be talked about, and different data, different information. Sometimes it's about different topic. So again, when you are able to prepare, right, all those things that I mentioned before, you actually you don't need to practice, because it's going to be like your norm. It's like automatically you will speak about it because you know what it's all about. You know the data is all about. You know why the profit goes up. You know why the profit goes down, why it's been stacked for a couple of months. So because you know why you're doing it, right? So this is an additional supplementary. If you really think that it requires, yeah, you should do it, practice. Either you can talk to yourself, you talk to your mirror and then you present. It's okay with that. There's nothing wrong with that. Or maybe you can talk with your friends, or maybe your cat. If you don't any, if you at that time you don't have any friends, because you need an audience to give a reaction from your presentation, right? Next, please. So yeah, look at this cute kitty, right? This, point is actually quite important. Very important actually. Have a good night's sleep before the presentation, right? During my time in studies, I end up, sleeping very late. Maybe the presentation was at 9 o'clock in the morning. And I was like anxious, and then sometimes I was not ready, and a lot of things. Because why? Because I don't know why I'm doing that. See, the foundation is not stable. So if you don't know why you're doing it, so you have encountered such problems. So you've been staying up all night preparing the stuff, and you still don't know why you're doing this, and you still don't know what's your idea on this. That's why, because you don't know why on earth you're doing this, right? Have a good night's sleep. And because tomorrow morning is D-Day, it's going to be the thing that you're going to present those ideas. Next, please. All right, it's D-Day. It's the day that you are going to present. It's the day that you are going to deliver all those points and contents. So, so if you're unable to do the previous thing that I've mentioned, well, you're going to have a problem during your presentation, right? So during the presentation, of course, just like Dr. Lily mentioned as well, grab smart, right? Don't be like really sluggish, and then when you're not getting enough sleep, you get these zombie looks, and then people know this guy's been staying up for a long night. So that give a very bad impression, because you're not actually ready to deliver those ideas or deliver those tasks, right? So dress smart, right? Have a good night's sleep, dress smart, and then arrive early, not on time. Arrive early, maybe half an hour before the meeting or presentation start, because when you're presenting something on that day, something might happen. Maybe your slides broken, and then maybe your laptop's out of batteries, and I don't know, maybe during that day, something will happen, right? So in order to encounter such problem, you need to arrive early, and you need to check first, you need to troubleshoot all the things that you prepared before. Because sometimes things doesn't go as planned, so that is why you need to arrive early, and then you set up the presentation, because you might using a lot of slides, you might using videos, or you might using a lot of tools, technology, cutting edge technology, you name it, which requires a lot of testing before you actually present it, right? And then the presentation. I mentioned that start strong is actually, if it's possible, right? Start practicing right now. Don't try do the usual ways of presenting, which my name is Nene. Today I'm going to present, and then you present the slides, which is it's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. But it could be better if you start something like you ask the audience a question, or maybe you try to tell a story about your presentation, right? It's not directly yet to your contents, but start something that make the audience like, this is really interesting. I'd like to know more, right? Make that happen instead of do the usual way. Make things a bit differently, right? To make people really wanted to hear what you are trying to say, right? Maybe it's going to be a bit different in the corporate worlds, because they only care about the numbers and stuff. But then you can actually change the environment, right? No one says that in the corporate world you have to do, like a stagnation presentation throughout the days. No one says that. You can actually be flexible, because no one is going to condemn about it, and which make the bosses like you, and then which make them to know more about your content, right? So it depends on the situation, but again, make your presentation start very interesting, so people will listen, right? And last but not least, smile and make eye contact. You know, I remember that when I was during early years of studying, I was doing like this presentation, and then I read the slide. Next, not making eye contact with the audience, right? So it's like, hey, we should make and respond with the audience. You should not read through the slides. That is why you need to use less text. Again, visualization tools. Use that. Make it more interactive. Make it your data live, right? Instead of you showing the whole information stacked in one slide, make it, visualize. So that is another part that requires a specific skill, specific techniques. I believe that brother Irfan is going to share with you guys on that, right? On 17, I think, on next week, I guess. Yeah, next week. Yeah, next week. So it will be very interesting to hear from him, his opinion on how to design such slides. Right. Next, please. All right. So here, when it's all over, I mean, you ended your presentation, and you're confident enough that it's done, right? But it's not done. It's going to be another presentation. It's going to be continuously presentation, missings, and it's going to be continuous pattern because you are in that industry and you are able to deliver those speech. And I mean, it's not just presentation, right? It's communication to deliver your ideas to your peers or to your bosses. It's not just presentation. It's actually a normal conversation with your colleague, right? Because I've seen in my workplace that they fail to deliver those ideas. They fail to deliver those solutions to the bosses, and there was misunderstanding and creates a lot of issue, and eventually someone else have to step in and mention that, hey, you guys are terribly doing wrong here.
Excuse me, Brother Izzat, you have 10 minutes more before you end your session. Thank you.
All right, thank you, sister. Okay, right now, so what you do? You should have SWOT analysis of yourself, right? You need to have a mindset that every task that you've done, every presentation that you've been through, you need to be better in the next presentation, right? You need to be better from before. You need to be better in everything that you did, right? So you need to know what is your strength in that particular presentation. What is your weaknesses in that presentation? What are the opportunities here? And what are the future threats that is maybe is going to bother you in the next tasks or assignments which related to the presentations, right? Or maybe you really don't see what's wrong with you. You're being good at what you're presenting. Then you need to ask your fellow colleagues, what do you think of my presentation? What the areas that you can actually improve from my past presentation, right? So this is really important because you actually are going to be you're going to be better afterwards. So just like to recap here, 3 areas that you are really need to work on is the preparation, the fundamentals, the foundation of why you're doing this, or why you're doing the presentation, or why you sharing with people, and get well informed. After you have all those why, you answer all the questions, get all the information, and accumulate all of it through the tools that I mentioned, and then visualization tools technique to display all those ideas at your slide. So it will make you confident to deliver those ideas. And then practice, 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 right? It will be better if you do it frequently. And then have a good night rest, obviously. And then the D-Day, arrive early, dress smart, and set up the presentation. Start strong, yeah, start strong, and then make eye contact with the audience. And last but not least will be the post presentation. Make a SWOT analysis about yourself so you can be better in the next presentation. So I hope you guys understand what I'm sharing with you guys. I hope it will help a bit, and combined with Dr. Lily's slide, his knowledge on this, hopefully I deliver all those objectives. Thank you.
Okay, thank you to Brother Isaac. It is full of information, and we can combine that the information. We can, yeah. Thank you, Irfan and Taufik. I think we can combine the information from Dr. Realization and yours, which we can see that from Dr. Realization, she mentioned that we have to have not only confidence but the content itself. And for your session, you mentioned three things before making presentation, which is we have a pre-presentation, during presentation, and also post-presentation, which all of that elements need to be considered in order to improvise our presentation in future. Okay, so thank you to Brother Isaac. So next session we will be moving on to our game session, which we were having Kahoot. So in this Kahoot game, we will combine all questions from Dr. Lily's session and also Brother Isaac. So I will ask our committee to present the screen. And to all participants, you may open the Kahoot website and you may enter the code of the Kahoot game that showed in the screen. We will start at 11:05, so 1 minute more. It's already 11:05
I
minutes.
think we can
Yeah,
start.
I
Kan?
think we can start. Yeah, sure. Congratulations to all the first place, second place, and the third place. So great, Taufik. Okay, masih berbisa ya. Okay, so I have been informed that that our PC give us sometimes to have Q and A session. So I will ask from audience to give one question to Dr. Lily and also one question to Brother Izai. So anyone? You guys can just open your mic or type in the chat box and then introduce yourself first and your questions. Thank you. Is there any takers to ask questions to Dr. Lily and to and also to Vitinaz?
I have a question.
Yeah, sure. Hasmullah, do you think?
Because right now we are in a season of COVID, in a COVID era where most of our presentations are online. So the nature, not the nature, the environment of presentation is also a bit different. Not a bit, I would say, it's a lot different than the physical presentation. And so, how do you think it has impacted the students, especially in a sense of their preparation? Because a lot of students, for me myself, even when I'm doing presentation, sometimes we tend to look at the camera, but actually the next to us is actually already notes and everything. So how do we actually curb that sort of problem?
Okay, thank you, Hasmullah. Maybe we can ask Dr. Lily to answer his question.
Thank you, Has, for that question. Okay. How I would see this, we know, lecturers know when the students read their notes, lecturers would know. And if you want the lecturers to really see you as a good presenter, then you have to try to present naturally without reading. Because whether it is online or offline, especially when it is online, when you're looking at the camera, we can look at your eye contact, we can look at your facial expression. A person who's speaking to you naturally or communicating with you, and a person who is looking elsewhere, even though the notes is like maybe behind the camera, the facial expression would tell it all. The audience would know, especially lecturers who are pretty experienced at observing would know. And if you are doing that, again, you have to ask yourself why you are presenting. If you plan to have everything correct, like memorized, then maybe that's why you are doing it. Maybe that's why you have your notes. But if you you plan to communicate and talk and express yourself to your lecturer and let your lecturer see your true ability and would be ready to get the true feedback of your real abilities, then you would show the real you when you are communicating. So again, it goes back to why you're doing what you're doing. If you don't mind the lecturers or whoever who's listening to you having the not wrong impression, but not exactly true impression of yourself, you don't mind that, then it is up to your choice and consciousness lah. Okay.
All right, thank you so much.
That's my response. Yeah.
Is it answering your question, Has?
Yes, it answers a lot. Thank you so
Alright.
much.
Alright, thank you, Dr. Lily and Has. Is there any questions? Last one for Brother Izzat.
Assalamualaikum. So for Brother Izzat, I would like to ask, is there any like quick tips for us, especially students, if there is like a sudden presentation? Yeah, that's my question.
Wait, can you repeat that again? I mean, what is your what again? You asked me for
The like a tips for students or any person who have to conduct a sudden presentation.
I see, understandable. Okay. Well, great question. Sometimes I've been told like that as well. I've been conducted, and suddenly it's like you're doing your work, and then your boss call you up in a Google Meet, and is that you need to present something. It's like instantly you have to do it right there without knowing, what's going on. And then, yeah, So one of the tips here is actually, again, the why role, right? As a students, we have all these subjects, right? And of course, you have all these goals for each subjects, like marketing, workshops, uh, again, a lot of things, Islamic perspective and things, right? So each of these subjects have their purpose, right? So you ask yourself, why do you take this class? Marketing, right? Marketing. Why do you take this Islamic perspective in this year? Instead, you can take it like fourth year or third year. So you need to ask that first yourself before everything's when you enter the class. So, for example, marketing. Okay, you need to change your mindset. It's not actually you want to just grab, but you actually want to know the knowledge of marketing. And also, you need to know how to use that knowledge and put it in your real life, right? So you keep thinking, like constantly thinking and analyzing all that, constantly being thinking on that. So you know why actually you're taking all these courses. And then when you know why you take it, it will be naturally know that you're going to present, or maybe someone take you out and then ask you to present something because you know why it's like that, right? For example, my role right now, I'm doing the environmental health and safety. I have all the database, and then I have all the inputs and informations in my clouds. So again, I use the technology of cloud system, Google Slides, Google Slides, and then Microsoft Slides, Microsoft PowerPoint. Very useful because you don't know when people is going to ask you. So you just can simply open up your phone, right, and then scroll to that install of that icons or application. Then you can actually present it from there because you know what's your role, you know what to show to the people, and then it's going to be a norm for you if you keep practicing that, right? So in the industry, we have to understand this. The industry keeps changing. Sometimes the product that you present yesterday, it obsolete overnight, and then you have to think another way on how to produce another product, right? So you constantly need to think, analyze, and then think new ways on how to improve such products or productivity, efficiency, anything related to your work or even your subjects. So you need to constantly think, and think, which makes you a very good person because you're going to analyze everything, right? And it makes you be prepared because people will ask you a lot of questions, especially when you're doing presentation, or maybe sometimes it doesn't relate to you, right? So you all have the information, and that's about it. So again, know your why. Know your why you're doing this. Know your why you're taking TPHM. Instead, you can take like economics. You can take engineering. But why TPHM? Why do you take TPHM? If you're able to answer those why, you can actually explain a lot of things because you already know where's your goal, where's your path, and you have all the resources at your hand, and then just like that. Again, the world keeps changing really fast. You can obtain a lot of information or even new application being developed over time. So that is my ideas on that. I hope it answer the question. This. Thank you.
Is that answering your question, Lily?
Yep, thank you.
All right. Thank you to Brother Izzat for your answer. Is there any questions from the floor?
Is it okay if I ask one more question, Hassanah?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, this is also something that happens a lot. Uh, Based on my experience, sometimes I have prepared myself very well, and I've done a lot of things as mentioned in the slides just now, isn't it? But sometimes during the presentation, our nervous came about, and it made us stuck. So how should we, maybe I would like to ask this to Brother Izzat, how do we actually cope in the middle kind of situation that we are suddenly stuck?
I see, I see. Thank you, Azullah, for the question. So you're saying that, you're presenting something, right? You are actually in the midst of the peak of presentation, and then it was like, oh crap, what's the next word? It goes on, right? What did I do is actually I pause a bit, and then analyze again, restructuring all those words and all of my content, and look at my slide, and then I reset, all right? Because again, we are human beings. We naturally tend to forget some things, although we prepare very well. Yeah, it's normal that sometimes you plan A and then you came out plan B. Doesn't make, and it's not related to your previous preparation. So it's normal actually. So when you're presenting someone else, during presentation, yes, you should pause a bit and then chill, relax, right? And then look at the slides again, analyze it again, rearrange the content. It's okay. Then reset. Simple as, I'm sorry, I would like to restart this again. I would like to reset all of this again because I forget something. So again, you restart all over again on that particular slides, right? Not the whole presentation, but at that area only. Yeah, that's my approach for that. Does that answer your question, Brother Hasbullah?
Alright, thank you so much. Because
All right.
sometimes it is the fear of when people want to restart that particular slide, people would think that, oh my god, I'm doomed, kind of fear, perhaps.
No, it's not the end of the world. It's not the end of the world. It's normal. I even get nervous when I presented to the group of CEO. Imagine I'm the first one who's going to present that. So it's like everyone is looking at you. See? So again, relax, chill. You know what you are trying to say. You know what are the contents that you are trying to deliver. Relax, look at the slide, because your slides actually have all those contents, actually have all those information, right? So don't worry, it's normal.
Okay, thank you, Izzat. I think it helps a lot because I also have the issue like as we were mentioned before. We prepare all of these things, and during the presentation, we will be like startled all the time, and we lose our points. So yeah, but it's okay for you to restart again the presentation.
Yes.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you to our speaker, Brother Isa, and also Dr. Lily. So we have come to our end. But before that, I have one request to all of you to open your camera so that we have photography session together. Thank you for opening your camera. Anyone else? More?
Fuyo Has, banyak makan tu.
Topik kau diam, Topik.
Taufik bukan. Lama tak nampak muka.
Malu Taufik ni, Brother Taufik malu ni.
Janganlah kecam saya. Saya tahu saya makan banyak. Sabarlah, bulan puasa nak kurus dah ni.
Taufik tak on kamera sebab dia makan lagi banyak.
Okay, so as Nabila, you may open your camera. Farah, Ramli, Ainilah, Fiza. Okay, just like
Can I just say that the background looks very nice?
yeah. Lily, are you ready? So I will count until 3 and then smile, okay? So we will give it 2 takes, okay? So here will be the birthday. Okay, 1, 2. Okay, one more. Yeah, okay. Okay, one more. The last one. Okay, 1, 2, 3. All right. All right. Thank you, everyone. Thank you to all participants that spend your time during our Ramadan while everyone is sleeping. So yeah, thank you to our and don't forget that we will be having another session with Brother Irfan this evening. So it will be started at 2 p.m. So that's all. I would like to thank to all of you. Thank you, and don't forget to join another session for this evening. So that's all. Let's recite Umul Kitab. Let's recite Suratul Al-As and Tasbih Kafarah. Thank you, and Assalamualaikum all.
Thank you,
so much.
everyone.
Thank
Thank
you, MSS.
you.
Thank you, doctor.
Dah ke?
Seems macam dah.
Dah. Ni ada Nur Aliana Tira binti Azmi. Are you okay? There you go. Okay.
Ya.
I can remove people though.
Okay. Tanya.
Minta komiti masuk ni? Nak.
Siapa lagi tak masuk kan?
Raja kat.
Hasanah masuk kan?
Mana dia?
Keluar juga.
Dia buat keluar juga.
Juga.
Dekat ke? Okay, dah bagi tahu dah Hasanah. I'm fine.
Amin. Recording macam mana? Aku tak okay.